You know when you're learning German and you feel like the word order is just a total puzzle? One second the verb is right where you expect it, and the next it's all the way at the end of the sentence. Well, today we're going to solve that puzzle. We're going to look at the secret signals that tell your verb exactly where to go, German connectors. Okay, so let's get right into it. The heart of the confusion really comes down to this one question. We're about to check out 3 sentences that all give a reason for something. But, and this is the crazy part, each one tells the verb to do something completely different. So why does the verb seem to have a mind of its own? Let's find out. All right, let's look at our first clue. Kerstin ist glücklich, denn sie hat Urlaub. Kerstin is happy because she has a vacation. Now, really focus on the part after den. You see sie hat. Subject, then verb. That's it. It's just normal, standard word order, exactly like a simple sentence. Easy enough, right? This is our starting point. Now watch what happens when we just swap out that because for another one. This time, we're using weil. But look what it does to the verb liebt. It gets launched all the way to the very end of the clause, weil sie das Meer liebt. So what's going on here? How does weil get the power to just banish the verb to the end? And for the final twist in our little puzzle, let's look at deshalb, which means therefore or so. Deshalb ist sie jetzt am Strand. Whoa, did you see that? The verb ist actually jumped in front of the subject sie. We've got verb, then subject, a total flip. So we've seen normal, we've seen verb at the end, and now verb before subject. What is the secret? Well, here's the secret. You need to stop thinking of these as just words and start seeing them as traffic signals for your verb. Seriously. Each type of connector gives the verb a specific instruction. Den is like a green light. It tells the verb go ahead, business as usual. Weil is a big detour sign, forcing the verb to take the long way around to the end of the road. And deshalb? It's like a traffic cop, waving the verb into the lane right in front of the subject. So let's learn these rules of the road. We'll start with the easiest rule, the green light. These are the connectors that let you build bigger, more interesting sentences without giving you a word order headache. Honestly, these are going to be your best friends when you're starting out. So this first group is called coordinating conjunctions. Their job is super simple. They just link 2 complete main clauses together. The key thing here is that they don't mess with anything. They're just a bridge, and the sentence that comes after them keeps its normal, comfortable subject-verb structure. Here are the main players in this super friendly group. You've got den, aber, und, oder, and sondern. Whenever you see one of these, you can just take a breath, because you know the word order that follows is going to be totally straightforward. No tricks. And the formula is exactly what you see right here. The conjunction itself, it kind of sits outside the sentence structure. You can think of it as being in position 0. After that, you just start a new sentence like you always would. Subject in position 1 and the verb right after it in position 2. Simple. All right, let's move on to rule number 2. Now, this is the big one. This is the rule that's the most common hurdle for German learners, but it's also the one that will make your German sound so much more natural once you get the hang of it. These are the subordinating conjunctions. They introduce something called a dependent clause. That's just a fancy way of saying it's a part of a sentence that can't stand on its own. And these guys have one single unbreakable rule. They grab the main verb and shove it all the way to the absolute end of its clause. You know, to really help this stick, especially for the most common one, weil, just try this little rhyme. Repeat it in your head. When weil steps in, the verb moves to the end. It's a simple little mantra that's going to lock in this super important rule. And this slide right here shows the mistake that, let's be honest, we all make when we start. Our English-speaking brain just screams to say, weil ich will, because that's what feels normal. But German grammar says, not so fast. Weil is the boss here, and it says that verb will has to take a little trip to the very end of the line. So the correct way is, weil ich in Deutschland leben will. And weil is definitely not alone. It's part of a huge family of words that all play by this same verb to the end rule. So anytime you're using words like das, wenn, obwohl, or before to start a clause, you've got to remember to save your verb for the grand finale, right at the end. All right, you've got the normal rule down, and you know about sending the verb to the end. It's time for the final piece of our puzzle, the inversion. This is where the verb and subject do a little switcheroo. This last group is called conjunctive adverbs. Now, here's the really key difference. These words aren't just bridges. They are actual adverbs that step right into the first position of the clause. And since there's a strict rule in a German main clause that the verb has to be in position 2, well, the verb has to jump in right after, which pushes the subject into third place. Let's break this down step by step. It's a clean 1, 2, 3 sequence. In position 1, you have the conjunctive adverb, like deshalb. Then, because the verb must be in position 2, you get ist. And that leaves position 3 for our subject, sie. Adverb, verb, subject. That's the inversion pattern right there. So which words actually trigger this inversion? You'll be using words like deshalb all the time to show a result, trotzdem for a contrast, and dann or danach to talk about what happens next. When you start a clause with any of these, just remember to flip that switch. The verb comes right after. Okay, I know that was a lot of info, but it all comes down to those 3 simple rules. So now let's pull it all together onto one single powerful slide. Think of this as your ultimate German connector cheat sheet. So here it is, all in one place. First up, you've got your coordinating conjunctions, like den. They keep things simple with normal subject-verb order. Second, you have the subordinating crew, like weil, which kick off a side clause and send that verb to the very end. And finally, the conjunctive adverbs, like deshalb. They take position 1 and force the verb right into position 2, just before the subject. So, if you only take one thing away from all this, let it be this. When you learn a new German connector, don't just learn what it means in English. You have to ask yourself what type of connector it is. Is it a den, a weil, or a deshalb? Because its family name tells you exactly what to do with your verb. See? The puzzle of German word order isn't so random after all. It's just a system of signals, and now you know how to read them. You know when to keep it normal, when to send the verb to the end, and when to do the flip. So the question isn't, why does this happen anymore? The question is, how are you going to use this to build your next great German sentence?